Bella was eight months old, I think, when I first reached out to Katie. I was probably at my absolute lowest point in motherhood. I was completely flabbergasted as to why my baby wasn't sleeping anymore. I followed a schedule from a very well-known program, and it had worked for a really long time. And then we kind of got to 8 months and the program stopped working. We went on a holiday and then she got sick, and it was just honestly just the worst time in my life. I couldn't get her to sleep at all. My husband would walk around with her at nighttime to be able to get her to sleep. I couldn't get her to sleep during the day, so I would end up driving around in the car for like 2 hours every day. She would scream all the time. I couldn't figure out what it was that she wanted. At a really low point, I'd known about Katie and about the free drop-in clinic, and I think it was like not on that day, and I couldn't wait. So sent an inquiry and I was like, look, help. Like I am completely my rock bottom with parenting and with sleep, and I'm not sure what to do anymore. My mental capacity for Bella was like at a zero, you know. I felt like I was really triggered all the time and my central nervous system was completely fried. I was getting quite obsessed about her sleep. I was getting really, really upset when she wasn't going to sleep at those times anymore. I was really confused. I didn't really have much capacity for anything else in my life. I was just feeling incredibly anxious and fearful all the time as well around her sleep. Every time it would get to bedtime at night, I would just feel this doom kind of come over me, especially if my husband wasn't home, because he was the only one that could get her to sleep. I also kind of had this sense of like I'd failed a little bit as well because she didn't want to come to me. At that time, it really was like it was kind of tearing me apart. My mental health suffered, my husband suffered, like everything kind of suffered because of this and the pressure I was putting on myself around her sleep. My biggest concern about getting a sleep consultant or a sleep coach or something like that was money, right? I'm not working, my husband works, he's the breadwinner. So I feel a responsibility to not be spending too much. And that was probably my only concern, but it was very fleeting. We still say it to this day. It was the best investment we've made as parents. Like you can get fancy prams and, you know, cots and like all that kind of stuff. But this was something that honestly, like to this day, and we would do it all again, you know, we would spend that money all over again. It was like 100% worth it. Katie had already come highly, highly recommended from a mother's chat that I was in, from one of my best girlfriends. She'd kind of gone to the drop-in clinic as well. I felt like I already knew Katie before I reached out to her, and she was really supportive of co-sleeping, which was really important to me. She wasn't just going to make me leave my baby to cry. Those things which were really, really valuable to me. And I think probably why I hadn't reached out to a sleep consultant before. I feel like they all kind of had that same thing. You need to put them in their own room. You need to let them sort it out themselves. It's like Katie was like, I like, even if you ask me to do that, I'm not going to do it. You know, like that's just not my style. So I think that was also like the icing on the cake, you know, and it kind of just solidified that, yeah, we've made the right choice. We've gone with the right person, and this is what we need to do. We got Katie to come to our house. We did like an evening session. I think she came over like 6:30 or something like that and stayed for, I think it was about 4 hours. I knew that I needed Katie to be able to see my daughter when she wasn't in the bedroom. So one of our biggest issues was that Bella would be fine. She'd be playing. She'd be having a great time. She'd kind of be showing that she was tired. I would take her into the bedroom and she would just start screaming bloody murder. Like she would get really distressed, really upset. And as a result, I was getting really stressed and upset. But then I would bring her out again and she'd be completely fine. So I needed Katie to be able to see the contrast between how happy she is. She's very active. I wasn't sure how it was going to look. Does she come into the bedroom? Does she kind of stand in the doorway? And even before that, Katie, you know, kind of connected with Bella when we were out in the living room and she played with her a little bit. She got to observe the way she is, which was really reassuring for me to know that she was getting a really good idea of her. And she came into the bedroom with me. And yeah, it was like it was on, you know. But what happened for me, oh, this moment was honestly like the most pivotal moment in my whole motherhood journey, I think. Bella started screaming, and I immediately wanted to try and fix it. And I wanted it to stop. And I didn't even realize that I was doing this. Katie actually pointed it out. I started rubbing her back, but I was doing it quite like anxiously, and I was doing it quite quickly. And Katie kind of just gently put her hand on my hand, and she was just like, let's just keep everything calm, like you don't need to stop this. You don't need to fix it. She knows that you're here. She just needs you to bear witness to what she's trying to tell you. And Bella was extremely frustrated. She's got quite angry at one point. She would have wanted her dad, because what was happening was, as soon as she would get upset, my husband would come in, he'd start walking laps of the hallway to get her to sleep, and eventually she would pass out on his shoulder. But when Katie was here, we went into the room. I'm not dad, honestly. I wasn't going to walk her around. It just wasn't going to do it. This isn't something that I expected from a sleep consultant. This was I didn't realize like how triggered I was getting throughout this whole process, which was elevating the way she was reacting, and it was just becoming this incredibly stressful environment. And Katie pointed out to me on the phone before we'd even met that children fall asleep when they feel safe. I think because we had been trying to put Bella to sleep instead of supporting her with her sleep, she wasn't feeling safe. We kind of found throughout that process was we were able to support her in a better, more loving way, and let her get her expressions out, let her say how angry she is that dad's not walking her around anymore. And eventually I was able to feed her to sleep and support her. And that was night one. I hadn't had that in 3 months, I think, just hadn't been able to get her to sleep. So I think it's really important to mention as well, I was laying down next to Bella the entire time. Katie was on the bed as well, we were both there. She had complete access to me the entire time. I was never told to leave her or to walk away or to, let her sort it out. It was just about being there and supporting her. I used to get quite triggered by her crying and screaming. I used to think it was something wrong all the time and I needed to fix it. I needed to make it stop. But Katie reassured me, that she's had to lay down on a change table. She's had to sit in a car seat. Little things of frustration that build up over the day. And now she's getting it out. And she's just telling you that, like, she's not very happy about this, but she knows that I'm here. And I didn't have to close off or anything. Everything was quite open. And she eventually did. She came to me and she kind of just rested her little head on me. And she I guess felt safe in that moment, which I'd never experienced with her before. I hired a sleep consultant because I thought I had a sleep issue, but I think what has surprised me is the wider effect it's had on the way that I want to parent. Noticing, I guess, like what gets triggered in me and how I want to respond to that. We are certainly in meltdown country now. She is expressing herself, she's pushing boundaries and all the things that she's meant to be doing. But from seeing Katie and experiencing one night with her, it's much bigger than sleep, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And that's been my whole experience with Katie, it's much bigger than sleep. It's much deeper than sleep. And I think that's something that she really brings. She kind of widens your lens a little bit and gets you to look at lots of different areas of parenting and what's going on for your baby and all that kind of thing. Life has changed drastically. I'm no longer driving around for hours every day. I think this is something really funny to mention. I was at my lowest point when I hired Katie, that my goals were like, I just want her to sleep. Like, it was so bleak. I was like, I just want her to sleep. Like, I don't really care about anything else. I just want her to sleep. And I think what's changed now is I've completely let go of schedules. So she's basically down to one nap, but sometimes she needs two. I'm able to be a little bit more carefree about, I know that she'll sleep when she needs to sleep, and I know I can support her in sleeping. She no longer screams at bedtime. Yeah, I never thought we would get past that. I just thought she was going to scream forever. Or Chris would have to put her to sleep at every nap time and every bedtime. It was so bleak, and now it's just completely different. If you're at a point in your parenting journey where you are even thinking about getting a sleep consultant, you already need to do it. If that's where your thoughts are leading you, because it's getting incredibly hard for you to be able to manage your emotions. If you're getting anxious and stuff about this, do it. And it can feel a bit scary sometimes, especially when you're putting money down for these things and you're putting your trust in people that you don't know. Do your research and find someone that aligns with you. Katie ticked all the boxes for us. She supported co-sleeping. She wasn't going to let me to leave my baby. She supported feeding to sleep. You know, she supported all these things that were really important to me that I just couldn't find in another sleep consultant. But if you're thinking about it, oh, just do it. Like, save yourself, you know, save yourself the trauma and just do it.